Ever wonder what the future of education really looks like? Well, you might find some of the most groundbreaking ideas in the very first place a kid starts their school journey, kindergarten. Today, we're going to dive into the Kansas Kindergarten Guide. And trust me, this isn't just about ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. It's about completely redesigning the very foundation of how we learn.
It all kicks off with wow, this is a seriously bold vision from the Kansas State Board of Education. This is way more than a catchy slogan. It's a mission statement. And it demands a totally new way of thinking about how schools should even begin. You don't become the best in the world by sticking to the old playbook. So, if that's your moonshot, where on earth do you begin? Right? How do you even start to tackle a goal that massive? It's a question that could feel totally overwhelming, but the answer Kansas came up with is, well, it's both really smart and pretty profound.
And here's their answer. You start at the very, very beginning. The guide basically argues that the old one-size-fits-all kindergarten is broken. To hit that giant vision, you have to build a brand new foundation. And that foundation is a completely transformed kindergarten experience.
Okay, so let's get into the first big idea here, and it's a complete philosophical shift. It's about taking a century-old idea about school readiness and flipping it completely on its head. This right here is the heart of the entire guide. For ever, the conversation has been about getting kids ready for school. This document just says, nope, we've had it backwards the whole time. It's the school's job to be ready for the child, for every single child, with all their unique backgrounds and needs. That's a total game changer. Okay, so if the system has to be ready, what's step one? Well, it starts with the physical space. The classroom isn't just a box where learning happens. The classroom itself is an active teacher.
And just think about it for a second. The way a room is set up, the stuff on the shelves, the way you can move around, it all sends a powerful message to a kid. It can either shout, sit down, be quiet, and listen, or it can whisper, hey, come explore, ask some questions, make something cool.
That's the million-dollar question, right? It's one thing to talk about a positive learning environment, but what does that really mean? What would you see if you walked into one of these classrooms? Well, it looks like a network of buzzing, purposeful learning centers. And here's the key. Every single area is designed to build critical skills. That block area, it's not just for making towers. It's a kid's first physics lab where they're figuring out gravity and balance. That's the foundation of STEM. And the dramatic play area where they're pretending to run a pizza shop, that's where they're learning to negotiate, work as a team, and even practice writing by taking orders. Ultimately, this is the big difference. The guide is pushing back against classrooms that feel like a racetrack, where every kid is just rushing to the next required task. The goal here is to create a laboratory, a space where kids can experiment, mess up, try again, and discover things on their own terms. All right, let's build on that. We've talked about the where of learning. Now let's dig into the how. This next piece is all about the real science of how 5- and 6-year-olds actually learn. And this is a huge break from the old way of thinking. The old model basically saw kids as these empty buckets, and the teacher's job was just to pour in facts. But the new understanding, which is backed by tons of research, is that kids are active builders. They literally construct their own knowledge by playing with things, talking to their friends, and interacting with the world. And the number one tool for this active construction is something the guide calls purposeful play. Now, this is a really key concept. We are not talking about unstructured recess here. This is a highly intentional teaching strategy. The teacher is like a master architect, designing a play scenario specifically to teach certain skills and hit specific learning goals. It's play with a serious purpose. So, the big takeaway here is that this isn't some choice between playtime and learning time. The guide makes it super clear that for young kids, play is the most powerful way to learn tough academic subjects. They're getting complex math concepts while building, and they're mastering literacy skills while telling stories. And what's cool is that this approach, it's not static. It actually changes and grows throughout the school year. Back in August, it's all about child-led exploration as kids get the hang of things. By the middle of the year, that play gets a little more focused, with more teacher guidance. And by May, these kids have built so much independence that they're directing their own projects in a way that looks a lot more like a first-grade room. It's a smart, gradual process. All right, last section here. Because a perfect classroom and the best teaching methods, well, that's still only two pieces of the puzzle. The third, And maybe the most important part is all about human connection with families and with teachers.
And the guide is crystal clear on this. Family engagement isn't just a nice-to-have bonus, it's an absolute non-negotiable. We have decades of research proving that when families are truly involved, kids just do better in school. End of story. And we're talking way beyond just volunteering for the class party. The guide breaks down these 5 key roles for families. They're the foundation of a kid's life, sure, but they're also partners in setting goals, they're advocates for their child's needs, and they're essential communicators who connect what happens at home with what happens at school. On the flip side, you've got the teacher, and their role changes too. It's not about being a sage on the stage anymore. It's about acknowledging what a kid is doing just so they feel seen. It's encouraging their effort, not just the final product. It's modeling things like curiosity and kindness. And it's about asking really good questions that make a kid think, not just spit back an answer. And that's why all this matters so much. These strategies build trust. A kid who feels safe, who feels seen and respected by their teacher, is a kid who is willing to take the kinds of risks you need to take to learn something new. That relationship, that's the real foundation for everything else.
So, let's pull it all together. What is the big shift we're seeing here? It's moving from expecting kids to be ready for school to demanding that our schools are ready for kids. It's a jump from a rigid system to one that's built around the child. It's swapping out rote memorization for purposeful play, and it's tearing down the walls to make school a real partnership with families.
And this brings us right back to where we started, that huge, bold vision. Because a better kindergarten, that's not the real goal here. The goal is to build a foundation of curiosity, confidence, and a genuine love of learning that's gonna stick with a kid for their entire life. If you get this first year right, you can change everything that comes after it. Which leaves us with one last really powerful question to think about. If we completely rethink this first year of school based on how kids actually learn, what does that mean for first grade or middle school or the entire system? It really suggests that this isn't just a guide for kindergarten. It's a blueprint that could challenge us to rebuild our entire idea of school from the ground up.